Okay, so you should be done with your warm-up. So let's go on. Today, students will be able to graph quadratic functions, identify key features, and determine the domain and range. So this is the same thing that we did yesterday. So if you still need a little extra help, you can always go and watch the same video from yesterday. Okay, so let's go through some vocabulary. Quadratic function. Remember, it's anything with an x squared, okay? Anything that has that x squared is probably going to be a quadratic function if it doesn't have anything higher, okay? This is the quadratic parent function, y equals x squared. So this is, before you add anything to it, this is what it looks like, and it'll look like that, okay? Now, a parabola, that's the shape of your quadratic function. It's this little U shape here that's called a parabola. The x-intercept is where the lines cross through the x-axis. It's also called solutions, roots, and zeros. That's very important for you to remember. Always know the different names for the x-intercepts. The vertex. Remember, the vertex is that very lowest point here or the very highest point, depending on whether it's a maximum or minimum. It's that whole point, the x and the y. The x and the y, okay? Axis of symmetry is that line that goes straight through the center. It splits the parabola into two equal parts. Okay, so the axis of symmetry, remember here, is supposed to say x equals 3, not 2. It's in the wrong spot. It's supposed to be x equals 3. Okay, a maximum is when it has a highest point, like a mountain has a highest point. So this is the maximum. Okay, the minimum is like a hole in the ground. It has a lowest point. Okay, so that's a minimum. Okay, quadratic formula, we don't really need that yet, but we'll get into that later along with discriminant. Standard form, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. That's usually how you'll see it, but you'll also see it in vertex form. Y equals ax minus h squared plus k. H and k, this in here, is the vertex. Y equals h, right here, is the axis of symmetry. So in this example, negative 2, 4 is the vertex. And then the axis of symmetry is x equals negative 2. Okay, completing the square, we're not doing that yet either. Okay, so let's go to your worksheet. On your worksheet, I'm going to do the first example for you, and you're going to do the second one on your own. So the first thing we need to get is the vertex. Okay, remember the vertex is that very lowest point here. Okay, so where does it hit the x-axis? At negative 4. Be sure you always have parentheses around your points. And then where does this dot hit the y-axis? At negative 4. So this would be your vertex. The next question, it wants to know, is it a maximum or a minimum? So does it have a very lowest point or a very highest point? It has a very lowest. So what is that? Minimum. All right, the next we're going to look at is the domain. Remember we did domain a while back. So domain is how far to the left and right does it go? So how far to the left is this going to go? Infinity, because that arrow. How far to the right? Infinity, because the arrow. So the domain is what? All real numbers. Okay? So domain is all real numbers. Okay, now let's look at the range. Okay, remember range is how far down and how far up does it go? So how far down does it go? To negative 4. And then how high up? For infinity. We can mark that part off. This is your range. So negative 4 is less than or equal to y. That is your range. All right, the next one we need to find is the axis of symmetry. What's the axis of symmetry? But what is it? The line that goes straight through the center. Okay, and where is it at? Negative 4. So we write it as x equals negative 4 because it is a line. So it's x equals. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at are solutions. Okay, what are solutions? X-intercepts. So it's here and here. How do we write this one as a point? Negative 6, 0. Okay, how do we write this one as a point? Negative 2, 0. All right, and the last thing we're looking for is the y-intercept. Okay, so it doesn't, the y-intercept is where the line crosses through the y-axis. It doesn't, you don't see it here on this line. So what we need to do is continue this line It goes through 8. So how do we write that as a point? 0, 8. Okay? So you're going to finish the rest of the worksheet on your own. Be sure you do it completely independently. Let me come and check it after you're done, and then if you finish in class, you will then work on Alex.